So we're really excited about today's episode. We've been trying to do this for a long time. Schedules didn't meet. She's super busy. Today we're interviewing Aline, who's our tax lawyer. It was supposed to be 20 minutes. I apologize in advance. There's a lot of information. You're going to love it.
Yes.
And if you have any further questions, who do they contact?
Aline Berbari, and we'll leave her information in the description box below, along with the details for her colleagues. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed today's episode, and without further ado, we'll get right into it.
Hola, soy Santi.
Hi, I'm Angela.
Together we're realizing our dream of relocating to my homeland in the south of Spain.
Along with our Australian Shepherd Levi, we want to share our passion for the Mediterranean lifestyle, where the sun shines more than 320 days a year.
So if you like this video and you want to join us on our journey, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.
Livin la vida Costa.
'Cause I found my way.
Good afternoon, Aline. And I guess it's evening in Spain.
Yeah.
We have Aline Berbari. She's a Canadian lawyer based out of Barcelona.
Yes.
She's helped us through the past few years, well, especially the past year, and a lot of questions that we've had, because there are a lot of questions. I'm going to let Aline introduce herself. She'll talk about what she does and where she's based out of and what kind of her expertise. And Aline, over to you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Santi. Thank you, Angela.
Yes.
My name is Aline Berbari. I'm a member of the Bar Associations of Quebec. I work from Barcelona, and I'm a tax lawyer. I hold a master's degree from Spain, from Madrid, in international taxation, and I hold a superior diploma from the University of Sherbrooke in Quebec, and I've worked pretty much all my life in taxation. I used to do mostly VAT, which is our GST, HST, QST. But lately, there are a lot of needs in Spain, and I was seeing on our Canadian in Spain Facebook page a lot of serious tax questions where answers were not provided properly, and they were provided by everyone and no one. And I decided to jump in to help a few Canadians in their kind of questions and needs. I know both systems, Canada, the Canadian Income Tax Act, and all of our taxation system, and I know the Spanish one, and I do cooperate with a few people here and there. I do have a team I work with in Montreal, and I have a team I work with in Spain, two gestores, two accountants. One of them is a lawyer like me. He was my colleague at university, and another friend of mine, she's a lawyer as well. She does everything related to what a lawyer does. And another friend who is a gestor. He does accountancy, social security, autonomo, pretty much everything related to administration. I do the same in Canada. So I do have also a team, Philip, Robert, Nikos, the guys I work with in Montreal. And I have also my own cousin. He just finished accountancy. He's doing his CPA. So it runs in the family. So he's starting to help me this year.
It's family business.
Yeah.
And just I'll quickly explain to everybody out there. So we're going to do kind of like a question and answer.
Sure.
Angela's going to answer. She's going to ask the questions. And then I'm going to kind of, I don't actually have to fake it. I'm going to pretend I don't know much. And I'll probably ask clarification, since I'm probably the least informed between the three of us here, which won't be much acting on my part. So we'll go ahead, and Angela's going to ask the first question.
Yeah. So thanks again, Aline, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. So the first question is, so what are the tax implications when you leave Canada?
There are a lot of tax implications. Actually, it's not only about Canada. It's basically when we leave from a country to another, we're changing completely our position as a residency. And that has tax consequences in the country where we're leaving and the country where we are coming in. Usually, OECD countries, including Canada and Spain, have mechanisms where when I leave, I have to report to those authorities at the moment of me leaving the country, what assets do I have and what is the value of my assets? Because there's what we call, according to the law, a deemed disposition of my assets. That means as if I sold them, although even if I did not sell them, but it's as if I sold them. This results in capital gain. And usually we need to inform the authorities of such a situation because we're changing residency. So not only we have to do an exact tax return, which basically is the return when we leave, it's upon leaving the country, we need also to report what we bring in as an asset because we have values, we have properties or any goods or any accounts. We need to do that also in Spain. Usually in Spain, the way it works is when you come to Spain, depending on your situation, you need to take some actions. And we'll talk about it probably furthermore in some cases. But once you meet the residency test, the year you meet the residency test at 31st of December, there's a form you need to complete, which is called Form 720, Formulario 720, that you need to report to the authorities on the 31st of March of the year after, or the second year. And that is where you have to declare all your assets as the same value on the 31st December. Usually it's almost the same, more or less the same value what we declare to the authorities when we leave. So we do have consequences and you need to know about it. If your accountant in Canada doesn't, or your gestor in Spain doesn't, at least you know, and then you will have to point this out.
Perfect. Thanks for answering that. So the next question is capital gains tax. So what is it and when would it apply?
Okay. Capital gain is the value that is between the value of an acquisition of good and at the moment of disposition. So the full amount that I had earned, that the value of the goods when it increased, I did not earn it properly, but it's called earned. This value is the capital gain. Capital gain in Canada has certain mechanisms of taxation. However, in Spain as well, depending what type of capital gain we're talking, is it dividends, is it investments, is it property? Usually it will increase your income in Spain. So it will be 100% included in your income. In Canada, it does, but we don't include the full capital gain. We include 50% of it. And then out of this 50%, there's also 50% that is taxable. That becomes, you pay 25% on the full capital gain, meaning that I have 100% capital gain, I declare 50%, and the tax I pay is only the little part, the 50 of the 50. In Spain, no. It's the full capital gain that is included in your income, and that actually increases your income, and then it makes you jump probably to another bracket. And so there are consequences. So if there is any property that you have or any investments, when at the moment of leaving Canada, at the moment of coming to Spain, you really need to do this exercise to see where does it reside, what is it exactly, and what type of exemptions you can have in one or the other country.
Okay.
Now I've got a question. I'm going to play the person that doesn't know much because
No problem.
I don't know much. So we're talking capital gains. I'm watching this video and I'm going to say, Aline, how do I avoid, if I sell my property in Canada, how is the best way to avoid paying capital gains upon entry into Spain? Because I know we've had this conversation privately. Just what would be the best way? Because I know that there's a date involved, amount of days residency.
Yeah.
Just kind of summarize that real quick.
Yeah, okay. If we're talking capital gain on properties, you need to make sure, we need to see what type of property we're talking about. Is it the principal residence?
Yeah, just primary.
Or is it a different property, okay? Because principal residence is usually exempt because when we buy the residence, and we do our return, we do elect that this is our principal residence. So then, and we have usually an acquisition amount value. At the moment of disposition or the moment I leave the country, this capital gain is exempt in Canada in the taxation year where I'm leaving, before I become resident in Spain. Why? Because it is not true what everybody says on internet or in the page, on the Facebook page, that you can be non-resident everywhere. Okay, that is ultimately not true. So you need, from the moment I cease to be resident in Canada, I become non-resident there. And exemption is only when I am resident or when I'm declaring the sale of it. So the best way here is to play with the dates and make sure that I do meet the requirements. So the capital gain is exempt. Now, what happens? If I sell my property and I get my exemption in Canada because that was my principal residence at that time, and then I become resident in Spain throughout the same year, the full value of the sale will have the full value of the capital gain will have to be included in my income tax in Spain. And this is where it is going to be increased. So basically what I saved in Canada, I'll pay it in Spain. So the best way here is to kind of play with the dates. And this is something where we help by choosing the dates. I did help a few clients this year where they were about to sell the properties at a certain time. And I said, maybe if you can just stay a few days more in Canada and then, sell it after, and then you come later in the year to Spain. So that avoids you to include it and to become resident. If we have this luxury and flexibility, that would be really good.
Yeah, because I've heard it's best to go after 183 days. So like to leave, exit the country, and then move to Spain after 183 days.
Yeah, because the residence test, the presence test is 183 days in the country. Usually Spanish authorities will really take this first test to use. Now, afterwards, we don't only look at the presence test, the physical, where am I physically? Because sometimes I could be physically in a place, but all my real life links to my life, to my family are elsewhere. I have other center of interests in Canada. I could be in Spain, but like me, right? I'm just going to give you the easiest example for you guys, for people to just kind of see. I'm a member of the bar. I have bank accounts. I'm married. I have a condo. I have a driving license. My family's there. I still have properties there. So those links are still linking me to Canada. So for the authorities, they will tell me, although you're in Spain, but you're still resident from factual perspective to me. So I, as a person, as a taxpayer, I need to sort this out with the authorities. I have to tell the authorities that although I am here, I'm still working there. Canadian Spanish authorities declared me as resident there, so I have to send some documentation. There's a lot of back and forth of compliance to be done when we are found to be resident in both jurisdictions. But eventually what I would like the people who are watching us today to know is the 183-day rule is a key rule, especially when you are selling your property in Canada. You truly try to make the best of it to have your exemption and not to be taxed in Spain. No. Yeah. Now, another rule, which is very important, and we were talking to a client actually on Friday with Joan here in Barcelona. We were at the office. You need to be aware that the money you bring to Spain and you're buying another property where you're going to be residing and it's going to become your principal residence, you have 2 years from the moment the sale occurred in Canada. You have 2 years to bring this money to Spain, to use it, and use it to buy another residence. That does not exempt it immediately. But what really happens is that part of the capital gain later on in life becomes also exempt. Like there's a formula according to the law that we use. What we tell our clients is if you can use the 100% of the investment, it's much easier for the authorities. But if you don't, then if you sell your house in Canada to 100,000 and you bring 180 here to Spain and you use it to buy your residence in Spain, there's a formula that's going to be prorated according to what you have used in the property. Otherwise, and the rest was going to be capital gain, just taxed at a normal rate.
Okay. I think that's a good answer. I don't want to linger too much on that. If there's more clarification people need, they can reach out to us. Yeah. We can reach out. I mean, we're going to put your links in at the bottom, and if they have questions, they can talk to you.
Sure.
They can contact you.
Yeah, because I mean, there are a lot of technical rules, and it's a really case by case situation. I know we're having this interview, and I know the target here The purpose is to help people, just like I was trying to do on the Facebook page. But I need people to understand, please, it's a really case by case. It depends on your assets. It depends on what you want to do. It depends on their intention. There are a lot of criteria that will enter into the formula, if I may say, of the planning.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question, we kind of touched on this. So when does someone become a tax resident in Spain?
But when you meet the 183-day rule.
Perfect.
But this is the first thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to play the.
But also, if you don't meet the 183 days rule, and you have a big central of economic interest in Spain, there are 3 tests. You have 183-day rule. You have los vínculos económicos, el centro de vínculo económico, which is economic, which is the source of income, and el círculo de vínculo social, de familia, if you're married and you have your family. But truly, I would say in fact, what we see usually is they will check the 183-day rule. This is the first thing they will do. And based on that particular criteria, then we will start saying, oh no, maybe I'm here at 183 days, but my family is Canada, my family is in Colombia, my family is I don't know where, I'm just working remotely, so on and so forth. So then we are questioned, and then we need to provide answers.
Okay.
Perfect.
So the next question. So if I buy a holiday home in Spain, what are the tax implications? So we're Canadian, we buy a house in Spain. What are the tax implications?
You're non-resident. You're saying that you're non-resident in Spain.
Yeah.
Right? Because are you Canadian? Because citizenship has nothing to do with the residency. So you could be Canadian and you can be living in the United States. You can be living in France. It does not matter. But if you're non-resident for tax purposes, in Spain, there's withholding tax on everything. You will have implications if it's a property for investments. If you're getting a rental income in Spain, there's going to be withholding tax. That's the same rule that applies in Canada, by the way. Most of all OECD countries, we have the same rule. It's an OECD rule according to basically all the international rules. However, the rate can change. Usually, more or less, it's 24, 23, 25%. In Canada, it's 20, 25%. In Spain, I think it's 24, if my memory is not falling apart. But whenever we're non-resident, let me tell you this, because I've seen this year in the tax season in Canada. I think I've seen it almost half of the time, 50% of my clients this year. If you are non-resident, and you have a rental income, let's put it in Canada and in Spain, it's the same. You need to have withholding on your rental income, meaning that the $100 that goes to your bank account, 25% will have to go to the authorities in Canada, or if this applies in Spain, 24% has to go to the Spanish authorities. You need to have an agent, a named person that will take care of this. You need to have a non-resident tax number given to you. It's no longer your social insurance number only that authorities will see. And you need to make sure that you do things properly and right, because otherwise they will deny the expenses for the rental property. Okay, so we do have rules, and honest to God, this year I was shocked with the number of accountants we have in Canada that do not know the rule. I've had real estate people, agents calling me because their clients are in this situation and they did not know what to do. So you as a person, and I'm looking at the camera and I'm looking and saying, if you are in this situation, please, you need to know that your tenant will become the person by default, by the law, who has the obligation to remit to the authorities. If you don't do things right, you're putting your tenant in a problem. They will be assessed by the authorities.
And that's a really good. I think that's a really good answer to a lot of people out there, because I personally know a lot of people I work with that are looking at buying property in Spain. That's really going to apply to them. Sure. No, thank you.
Yeah, in Spain, the rule in Canada is translated into the same rule in Spain. It's the same thing, because what does the rule say actually for non-resident? It says the person who is paying a non-resident person has the obligation to remit the withholding tax, and then we have to go to see regulation. What is the percentage? In Canada, it's 25. In Spain, it's 24. So when you don't do your homework as a taxpayer, you're actually putting the other person in a liable situation, facing the authorities, when in reality it's not even their problem. So that would be, I think it's not fair. Like, it's not correct. 100%. So I think we need to take care of our things from the first moment. I've met people on Friday. They have a real estate agent. She did not know what she needed to do. So I had to speak to her, and then they were lucky because their tenant is a lawyer in Vancouver, and he said, "Oh no, guys, make sure, because I don't want to be in problem because of you. I know you're in Spain, so I don't want to be in this situation." Yeah. So he actually he's a lawyer, and he had to tell them.
Yeah. Wow. So the next question. So can you work for a Canadian company while living in Spain? And do you have to pay like taxes, Canadian taxes? So should you get the EI and CPP taken off?
I don't like these situations.
Yeah.
I don't like them. And I know we are after post-COVID, this is what we're seeing more and more, not only with Canadians, but everywhere. You could. The answer is you could. You need to tell your company that you're working in Spain or you're living in Spain. Because in reality, the company cannot issue anymore a real T4 for you. They will have to issue an R slip or T4NR, sorry. It's only for non-residents, okay? And they have to withhold the appropriate amount of tax. It's not anymore the real federal tax rule. It's not only the CPP, the parental, contributions, the unemployment insurance contributions. There are no more of these contributions. It's usually the withholding as per the double tax treaty and as per the Income Tax Act, which is basically 25%. So first of all, we need to tell the company to have the right withholdings. Second, you're putting the company at risk because according to Social Security laws in Spain, when a company has people working in the Spanish market, they have to register here the employee according to the law. So if the company doesn't do so, and you don't do so, you don't contribute to Social Security, you're at fault, and you're putting the company at fault. So this something has to be discussed with the company before coming. You have no idea how many people last year called me. They work for companies. I don't want to tell my employer. And I'm like, you can't do that. You're risking your job, your future, because if they find out that you did not tell them, and they have a liability in front of the tax authorities in Spain or the social security authorities in Spain, are you aware that you're going to lose your job? Are you aware that they will be assessed and penalized for it? And they're like, oh no, I don't know. Well, now you do. So that's my answer. You could. Okay. But you need to make the right arrangements. Yeah. You need to tell your employer. The employer has to speak with the lawyer here. They have to see if according to the convenio colectivo of what you are doing here in Spain, you have to be registered under Social Security, or it's something that you do. Because I've seen a lot of situations where when the employee chooses to leave, the company says, you know what? You do what you want, but I don't want you on my payroll anymore. I just want to have a contract with you as a professional, remote professional, autonomo, yeah. Self-employed. Perfect. And that's a fair play, because then you're doing autonomo here, you're doing your invoicing, they get to pay. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. So I think yes, you could, but you should disclose it.
Okay, perfect. So should I move all my investments from Canada to a Spanish bank account, or do I only take what I need?
No, you don't have to. I am not good in investments. That's not something I did. I don't know what they have on the markets. But if you're happy with your investments in Canada, you don't need to. You don't have to. Why would I want to have all my investments, bring them here? If my investments are doing good in Canada and I'm having a good sorry, I can't find my words in English. It's a rendement. It's if I'm having a good turnover on my investments, I don't need to. I think these situations will happen is when I really don't want to have to do anything with Canada, and I'm cutting the links, and I just don't want to have any withholding for any payment I receive. It's feasible, but I think in this case we need to speak to the right investments assessores.
Yeah.
What's assessores? I can't
That's
find the word.
but it'll be a
advisor. Okay, so we will need to speak with the right investment advisors so they can tell you what to do with it, which vehicle you can put it here, because I know that we have vehicles here that are a little bit like RSPs as well, and then I think we're going to speak about RSPs. I'm hoping that later on, but it's not an obligation. You don't need to, and I would not recommend it. Honestly, I personally still have my investments in Canada.
Okay.
Now, this will be probably one point on a link that I have with Canada. Let me go back to what I said first. When we leave, we need to cut the links with the Canada, we become non-resident, etc. In Canada, we have a form that's called NR73. NR73. This form is a questionnaire, and that allows the tax authorities in Canada to tell me if I still have links with Canada, if I'm still not resident for tax purposes under factual, kind of rules. One of the points is, do you have investments? So according to what we know in best practice, when you start ticking the points, if you have 5 points or more, it kind of raises the questions in Canada, say, they have enough links to Canada. So maybe to answer properly that question, I think it's more strategic situation. It's a planning situation where we decide whether to leave or not the investments in Canada.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, long answer, but
I'm just going to tell anybody who's watching this.
I'm really trying to give as much as I can information.
Exactly, and if you want further advice, I mean, contact Aline or go through her.
Yeah. I mean,
contact somebody.
Sure.
Always seek professional advice.
Yeah. This is just a quick overview.
Yeah.
So next question. Am I allowed to keep my Canadian bank account if I move to Spain?
You are allowed to keep your bank account.
Okay.
That's the answer.
Short and sweet. That's what we love.
You are, of course. But bear in mind that the bank accounts should be disclosed in the Form 720 when you do the form after you meet the residency rules in Spain.
Well, for I'm going to play the not so informed person again because it's realistic because I'm not.
Okay.
So that goes for if, and it's not my case, but if I have $1 million in a bank account in Canada, that's a declaration I make upon moving.
You have to.
So because it was a very quick answer, and they're like, okay, well, you can keep your bank account, but it's an asset that you have.
Yeah, bank accounts are assets from tax perspective in Spain, and they need to be disclosed. Just like everything else I owe, and I own in Canada, not I owe, I own.
Yeah. Next question. What is the difference between an NLV, digital nomad, and autonomo?
My God.
Yes, briefly.
Those are immigration rules. We have someone in the team. His name is Guillaume. He's a lawyer, and he does a lot of NLV, DNV, and investments, visas. The rules are different, okay? NLV, you're not allowed to work. You should have already an income that is arranged for you from abroad, or you have to have a source of income. You need to have I think, if I'm not mistaken, you need to have an insurance so you can live in Spain. DNV, Digital Nomad Visa, is the new visa that's very trendy. Everybody's using it to come and live in Spain and work remotely. And everyone, it is destined to remote works, remote jobs and working. In the decree of the Spanish law, when it was announced and when it went live, when it entered into force, I wrote an article about it. Initially, the intent was to bring IT people and technology brains to Spain. That was the intention. Now, it took another probably turn in the last year or so. but it allows someone to come here. Doesn't have to be working with for his own company. It doesn't have to be an employee sent by a company. It could be his own company. It could be his own autonomo, and he wants to come and stay here for a while. I think there's a limit of time. I really don't remember if it was 1 or 2 years, but there's a limit of time that they provided. DNV allows you to come with your family, allows you to use the Beckham law from tax perspective, you and your family. Beckham law is a mechanism in the law that allows us to be taxed at a lower rate than the real rate if we are resident. So Beckham law tells me that if I come under DNV and I meet certain requirements, it has to be source of income in Spain, it has to be that I was not resident before, there are like tons of requirements, and I will pay 24% on my income from Spanish source. Me and my significant other, my partner, 24%. This is good for a situation where my income is going to be taxed way over 24. That's what DNV basically does. It gives us a lot of privileges to live, work, and be here, but for limited time. Autonomo is someone who comes here, has his own work, basically, comes and start working in consultants, give classes online. It's a self-employed person, and it can be under any visa because autonomo is a status according to the Income Tax Act from taxation. It's not related to any type of visa. I mean, I could be autónomo today, although I'm here under altamente cualificado. I have a certain permit to live, but I can become autónomo. So autónomo is a status according to the law where you need to register with authorities, and the first year you pay a quota of 80 euros, if I'm not mistaken, per month to keep your autonomo permit going on with the authorities.
So in short, for once again, because I'm going to play that person, I'm going to be that one guy that always has the question,
Sure.
the one that everybody hates. So basically, short, NLV, digital nomad, apply more to the immigration side of the conversation, whereas autonomo applies more to the taxation.
Yes, definitely.
It's basically self-employed for taxation purposes, whatever country you live in. So those are the two differences. Okay.
Yeah. So Lynn, the next question is, when does global wealth tax apply?
Global wealth tax will apply when you have a certain threshold exceeded, depending on the comunidad autónoma. Usually it's 2 million, and there are 500,000 euros of exemption on it. And it depends on the cities and the comunidad autónomas. In Madrid, we have an exemption of, I think, 99 or some 90 something percent, meaning that all the wealth tax is almost all exempt. Not in Barcelona. Barcelona, I think it has one of the highest.
Oh, wow.
So, and that actually, it's important for you guys to know. On the 31st of December of the year where I declared my Form 720, it tells the authorities my assets. This information is gone to the system. They say they don't use it, but usually this information will still go, and they keep it on the system. So when you do your tax return, you need to disclose your assets as well. You need to say what are the assets that you have and the wealth that you have, whether in Spain or outside. Then you have to pay the wealth tax on it. And then they kind of combine the information. They cross-reference the information.
Perfect. I'm going to clarify something for the people that don't speak Spanish. When she said La Comunidad Autónoma, what she's meaning is every region. So every city, every region. For Canada, it would be provincial.
It's basically it's the equivalent of our provinces. Comunidades autónomas is we call it here the autonomous community, but it's the provinces. Provinces is Catalonia, is Madrid, is Toledo, is Navarra. Those are Andalucía and Malaga. Those are actually autonomous.
Because I know we're going to get emails of like, can you ask her? Could you please go back and ask her what that means?
No problem.
Good. That's been answered. We're good to go.
Perfect. So the next question, if I receive OAS, so Old Age Security or CPP, and move to Spain, should I let CRA know to deduct the taxes, or just let Spain do that?
No, yes. Okay. The law says the payer has to pay the withholding to the CRA, to the tax authorities. if you're receiving the money from this area, you need to tell them. And usually it's very easy. You just send them the information, and all the payments that you are receiving, they will just be net in your bank account that you choose. It's as easy.
You know the percentage that they withhold?
Sorry?
You know the percentage that they withhold? I think it's around.
It's going to be always 25%. That's the withholding tax rate in Canada. It's 25%. They will, you know what will happen? If I receive if I receive all the CPP, QPP, whatever PP in Canada, we receive any pension plan payments. I get them. The authorities in Canada are withholding 25%. I have to do my return in Spain. In Spain, I will declare the 100%, not the 75% I received. So I have to declare the 100%. When I receive the 100%, I will have to tell the authorities, oh, for the 100%, I paid already 25%.
Yes.
And then there will be the foreign tax credit, there will be calculations.
Yeah. So Canada and Spain, do they have a tax treaty?
Yeah, we do. We do have a double, compañía de doble imposición. We do have a double tax treaty. We have a lot of rules that are there. For example, the withholding tax would be on dividends 15% instead of 25% in Canada, or 24% in Spain, because that's what the tax treaty tells us. Payments for pension plan, if it's monthly payments, there is a withholding of 15%. If it's a one-time installment, it's 25%. It's according to non-resident tax rules. So we do have rules that we need to abide with, and it's very good because that allows us to know what we're doing in each of the countries.
Sure. Yeah. Did you have a question? I saw you.
I did, and it was just kind of a really quick annotation to that. My father obviously lived in Spain before he passed away. He received his pension from Canada. I just remember I always had to file. I filed his tax return every year. I did the non-resident tax form. It can be done. My mother and my stepmother is now receiving death benefits from the CPP, and I still file her non-resident home. So it isn't complicated at all. And I mean, it's just a simple form that we would fill out and have the person sign with a Spanish bank account, and they deposit it. So no, it's not.
Yeah. And the Spanish banks usually will give you what is called informe fiscal, tax report at the end of the year, where it states when you go into your bank platform, you will get a message, and then you click on it, and then it gives you the informe fiscal of whatever information that needs to be declared on your income tax return, and the information that needs to be given to the authorities. In some cases, if they know that you're here and you're receiving payments from here, but you're from Canada, they will tell you, hey, by the way, I'm CaixaBank, or I'm Banco Sabadell, or I am Santander, and this form will go to the tax authorities in Canada. So they do also this exchange of information as well.
Great. So the last question, can you recommend a Spanish tax accountant?
Yes, I can recommend Joan Pamies. He's in Barcelona. Gorka Alonso, he's in San Sebastian. Gorka works in a firm. He was my colleague when we were doing our masters. He's very young. He was very young. That was a few years ago, but he was really promising. He's very good. Joan is a person who works with expats a lot of time, with a lot of autonomous, self-employed companies. He has a lot of experience. He speaks French as well. So Gorka for the people who speak English, Joan for the people who speak English and French as well. Yes, these are the two. I'll send you the information.
Perfect. And
before I jump to the other thing, I'd like to speak about the TFSA and the RRSPs.
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
Those are a lot of questions that we do have, and a lot of people do have TFSA RRSPs. TFSA RRSPs are mechanisms according to the Tax Act only. They are not recognized by any means under the Income Tax Act in Spain, and they are only normal bank accounts. So any income that is generated into my RRSPs and TFSA, although it could be non-taxable in Canada, it is considered to be renta. Renta is income. Yeah. It is to be income in Spain, and I need to declare it first. Second, from the moment I become non-resident in Canada, I'm not allowed to contribute to TFSA. You can have a very salty, bad penalty from the tax authorities in Canada if you do contribute to your TFSA after you leave Canada. I really, really do not recommend it. If you have also TFSAs in funds where you are having a lot of income and you cannot use it you cannot invest with it, or you cannot get it for any other way, just bring them out. It's better for you to do that before you leave, before you change your non-resident to your non-resident status. Those are really things that I would like that you pay attention to with your accountant in Canada. And you need to tell your gestor, please. A lot of gestores do not know our rules in Canada. They will not know how to treat these accounts. Please tell them that the generated income should be included in your income tax return in Spain. It's not exempt. A lot of gestores think that's exempt here, but it's not. And also trusts. If you have any trust, income from a trust, or any donations you do in Canada, these are not recognized according to the laws in Spain. Trust is a status that does not exist in the Spanish law. Whenever I have the trust in Canada, we do it as a triangle. This is the symbol of a trust. If I have a trust, you need to think that all the money, it's a flow through to the beneficiary. It's my person. It's me as a person who is being taxed. So if there's any trust, any donation, any testament that we're trying to build for the future generation, you need to make sure how it's done, because it has a lot of impact in Spain, direct impact. In Madrid, we have 99%
coming to you, Lynn.
The authorities are on the way.
The authorities are on the way. I can hear them in the background.
Yes. yeah. In Madrid, we have 99% of an exemption on such donation or such mechanism, not in Barcelona.
Oh.
Or not in other provinces, okay? And not in other cities. So please, you need to bear of that as well. Sorry, I really wanted to speak about those 3 points.
We're very glad you did.
What about an inheritance? If you receive income as
it's the same. That's what it is. Inheritance is the same. Inheritance in Spain is taxable. Okay. In Spain, we have several laws for taxation. We have Income Tax Act on personas físicas, on individuals, Income Tax Act for sociedades, for companies, Income Tax on inheritance. We have Income Tax on deceased. You know, we have different Income Tax Acts, where in Canada we have one Income Tax Act with several parts, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 13, etc. And in Spain, we have Income Tax Act for non-resident. So the inheritance goes under Impuesto de Sucesiones, succession, it's inheritance tax. And these are the rules that I'm talking about. Like you can use a trust in Canada, here you can't. So we need to know what type of good, what is the value, when is it going to be transferred to the person, where does the person reside? There are a lot of kind of requirements that we need to know, so we can do a good planning, because we don't want people to get, at the end of the day, I'm receiving 1 million, but I'm paying half of it in taxes just because I live in Barcelona, or I live in San Sebastian, or I live, I don't know where. Like, I'm giving examples on the top of my head.
Perfect. I'm just going to cover one thing real quick. I know we use the word gestor a lot. For English people, the closest definition would be an accountant.
It's the person who's responsible for your taxes.
Yeah, because I know I'm going to get that question in the emails. Okay, you guys use that word a lot. It's an accountant. For just to keep it simplified.
My tip to everyone: I've been living in Spain since October 2016, and I did a master's degree here. And I've seen the tendency on the Facebook page of Canadian in Spain since that time. And I did meet a lot of gestores when I was in Madrid, when I was in Asturias, and here. I would tell you, if your gestor doesn't speak English, it's a person who doesn't know what's going on outside of the Spanish norms. Mm-hmm. This is the tendency I see, okay? From experience, 90% of the time where Canadians call me from Andalusia, from Jaén, from Sevilla, from I don't know where, can you please speak with my gestor? Because I don't think he's understanding what I'm saying. And then I speak to him and I realize he doesn't understand English, and he's never touched anything out of the Spanish law. Avoid to go to those people if you have cross-border issues. Yeah. Furthermore, you may go to someone who's English speaking person, but who's not Canadian, who's not American. They might not know what's going on in Canada. So you need to tell them, please, can you check the law? Can you call someone in Canada? Because I did deal with a situation where the person was English from England. Very smart lady. Really, I loved working with her. However, she really was completely ignorant what was going on in Canada, so much that unfortunately, she registered our client under different rules that made big consequences on his taxes in Canada and big consequences on his taxes here. So for the first year, we were in trouble. So I had to amend everything in both countries, and I had to send a letter, and I had to present and say he was misinformed. So from practical perspective, I mean, you need to call someone who's knowing what's out there. Doesn't have to be a person probably specialized in Spanish all the time, but if your accountant is from Canada, make sure that he knows what's going on beyond our borders.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. Aline, you're amazing.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I know we went over our time limit a little. That's okay. We owe you a coffee, or we owe you a beer.
It's my pleasure. It's really my pleasure. I mean, listen, I have a day job. I work I'm head of tax in a private company. That's my bread on the table. I love taxation. It's my passion. And if this video can help some Canadians or non-Canadians, some people who are coming to live in Spain, and they understand that, hey, it's beautiful. Yeah, I'm going for the sun, for the beach, for the beautiful life. It's amazing, but you need to know that this has serious consequences on your life, and it will actually catch up. You may not see it in the first or second, third year, but I can assure you, after 5-6 years, someone's going to knock on your door, and you will have probably a notice of assessment that will be surprising. So if I'm here, if with this we can help some fellow Canadians or anyone, I mean, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And on that note, I think we covered everything.
Yes.
If you have any further questions, we're going to link Aline to the bottom of this interview.
Sure.
Feel free to contact her. Don't contact me. I'm not a tax specialist. Contact her, and I'm sure she'll direct you towards anything and anybody you need. Thank you very much, Aline.
Thanks so much, Aline.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.